This is Brother Peter with tidbits from the Word. We're going to dig around in the little book of 1 Timothy for a few minutes, or 2 Timothy, of 2 Timothy for a few minutes today, and we're going to look at some things. I have titled this is The Last Day Conditions. There are going to be two groups of people on this earth in the last days of God using this earth the way He's using it right now for man. Now, God made the earth for man. He didn't make it for Himself in the sense of the word, for His pleasure, other than the pleasure of putting man on the earth and man being His subjects, man worshiping Him. God is God, and He requires worship. And He made this earth and put man on it. This earth is to sustain man. God doesn't need air. He didn't put air on this earth for Himself. He needs no air. He put air on here for mankind and for the animals and for the things that He created with a pair of lungs that breathe air. And then He also did something scientists couldn't even begin to copy, and that is how He made the air from the trees, and how the air is a twofold thing. I've been studying some words of late that mean exactly the same. If you're a lost man, they mean the same to you as they would for a saved man, only on the other side of the fence. For a lost man, they're going downhill, and for a saved man, they're going uphill, and they're the same words. And they all come down to a crucifix. At the end of them, they butt into a square point. And so we got to look at the Bible and take it for fact as it is. Now, it says here in 2 Timothy in chapter 3, and let's look at it and see what it says in chapter 3 of 2 Timothy. First verse, it says, "This know also, in the last days perilous times shall come." If you are a person who has been in the Bible and has studied the Bible, you will see that the end of many errors for the children of Israel, they had end after end after end after end in the years of the Old Testament. They would crux to an end. They would peak to an end. They would repent, and they would start following God. He would bless them, give them the land, give them everything, and then they would forget God, and they would go their own way, and they would become to the same place that the earth is coming to today. In the days of Noah. The days of Noah, when we hear about when we're little children, we hear about Noah in the ark, but we do not relate it to an end time event. And it was the end time for all but 8 people of the human race. It was the end time for to extinct the dinosaurs on the earth. And we could get into that. Someday we will. But right now, we're talking about human beings, the thought of the heart and the intent of the heart and the mind of man in this day. Let's look at a couple things. He said, for us who are Christian, I am a Christian, I am following God. He said, be not high-minded. In verse 17 of chapter 1, he said, be not high-minded. Is it 1 or 2? Chapter 2. He said, be not high-minded. Be perfectly furnished and of good works is in 1. And verse 17, let's look at it again. Verse 17 in chapter 1. That's where 2 I was supposed to be in, excuse me. And verse 17 is not the one I want either. You say, Brother Peter, have you studied it? Yeah, I got done studying on it just a few minutes ago, but I've been all over the place. All right, it is chapter 3 of 2 Timothy, and it said, the man of God may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works. And we're supposed to be perfect in the Lord, thoroughly furnished in the Lord, not high-minded for ourselves, but thoroughly furnished in the Lord. And if we will do that, we won't be high-minded at all. Now, verse 17. We need to be careful that we're not high-minded. It said, do not trust in riches. Hey, riches come and riches go. We are weekend rich. Most of the people in the United States of America today and all over the world, the majority over the world, are weekend rich. They're rich when they get their payday. There are those, like myself, who probably would be considered by the middle class as the poorer class, and I'm a weekly man. I get paid weekly, and I live on what I make weekly. I divide it up and say, this is what I've got to have absolutely positively got to do with this money this week in order to get through Friday, and put $1 or $2 away toward the house payment and the insurance and the light bill and all the things that are coming up during that month. So I had to be careful. I can't trust in those riches, though. Personally, I've worked for myself for years, and my Fridays sometimes go a long way between paydays on Fridays. Now we have a group of people that get paid once a month. And we have some people that get paid 6 months. We have some people that do jobs, do the whole job, and then collect the check. I personally have never been able to do that on the bigger jobs that I've done. I do that on some smaller jobs that may take me a week and a half or 2 weeks, and then collect the sum. But we can't trust in those riches. It says trust in the living God. And I do. I trust in God. I don't trust in the riches. By the way, the first 10 cents out of every single dollar that comes into my hand, and has since 1972 when I got saved, the first 10 cents out of that dollar gets put in an envelope and put away, and is put away until the Lord's day, which is Sunday, and I take it and put it in the church. The Bible says to put the first 10%. The first 10%. You get a $100 bill, you take $10 and put it in that envelope, and God will bless your life. In spite of the fact you may be a person that fails in many ways in your Christian life, tithing covers a multitude of sins. Tithing covers a multitude of sins. If you can get obedient in tithing, you 9 times out of 10 can bring your body and yourself under subjection to the Lord to do many other things and be under subjection and not have the problems that you have. If you're not tithing, you do not have the power that you need to be able to follow the Lord and do good like this says. This says do good to everybody. What he's saying here about this doing good, and this doing good is doing good in the gospel, not doing good not doing good in let's put it this way, in many things. This is what kind of doing good it means. It means doing good to other people, doing good to other people for the Lord's sake. For the Lord's sake. Hey, you got somebody you really don't like. I mean, you really don't like them. You absolutely, in your mind, right up here in your little peon mind, that I can't stand that person. Well, do something good for them. You do something good for them, and it will do something good for you. And that's the way that works. You do something good for them, it will do something good for you. Know that the law is good if a man use it lawfully. Using the things properly, the way you should use them, and God will bless you. He said, lift up your holy hands when you're praying, when you're talking. Are you a Christian? Then you have holy hands. Lift up your holy hands, he said, and praise with them. If you're a Christian, you have holy hands. Holy hands don't steal. Holy hands don't cut people with a knife. Holy hands, if what comes out of your mind, you let go through your hands before you turn it loose. You've got a little thought between your brain, your arms, and your chest and everything, and your hands before you just strike out. Be careful, you're not a just strike out person. See, bodily exercise profiteth little, he told Timothy. But bodily exercise profiteth little. But godly exercise is profitable unto all things, having the promise of life that now is, and that which is to come. If you're going to have anything in heaven, you're going to send it up there now. If you're going to do the kind of good the Bible talks about, you're going to put it in heaven now. And we need to provide for our own. In the last days, people will not be providing for their own. We see this trend in the United States of America. That's where I am, so I'm going to talk about it. That a group of people back in 1970, in the 70s, I was driving church bus. And on that church bus, I had areas that I went to. And in those some areas that I went to, there was a brand new system in place in the United States by where they called it welfare. And they distributed some food, and they helped some people. And those very people begin to depend on that help and cut back on what they were doing for themselves and depend on that help. Now we have come through generation after generation after generation, 4 generations, I believe, 4 different groups of people have come up through since I've been saved that are now saying if the government cuts their food stamps from $900 to $700, their statement would be, how in the world am I going to live? Well, they think I can feed 5 children on $700 a month? See, we've got a mindset that went away from us doing for ourselves, us living godly, us furnishing our own household, us taking care of what God wanted us to take care of, and we've lived above our means, and we've brought ourselves to poverty by doing it. What is inflation? Inflation is nothing but people living beyond their means comfortably. People live comfortably beyond their means, and other people who are making the money off from those people keep raising the price, trying to make those people uncomfortable in their means, and they are doing it. But if you cut all the welfare off today, you would have hundreds of unemployed people who do not know how to work, They don't know how to do hygiene. They don't know how to clean up. They don't know how to smell properly. They don't know how to act properly. They don't know how to live properly. I got to get through this. All right. He said, be rich in good works. Be ready to distribute goods to help others. Be ready to distribute goods to help others. And so this is a tough day to distribute goods. I take food from the food closet to houses, and then I find out that the people had $500 or $600 food money given to them by the government. The first 2 weeks, poof, they blew it. What'd they buy? Candy bars and potato chips and soda pops. And if you give them $40, they'll go down to the store and spend all $40 on a buggy full of candies, potato chips, and stuff, the same thing. They haven't been taught. They have not been taught what is proper, what is right, what is good. And because of that. Now, in the last days, I'm talking about what the people are going to be like in the last days. And we see that how it's getting started here in America and how it gets started everywhere. They become where they can't work. where they're useless to work, where they do not feed their own families. The government feeds their families. You and I who pay taxes feed their families. And that's how that works. And it's going to flip. It's going to flip over. It's like a frog on a lily pad. A good-sized frog jump on the edge of a lily pad, it's going to sink under like this. And that's exactly what this system we have today is like a frog on a lily pad. It's going to flip over one day, upside down, and on the other side there'll be nothing. It's going to be bad conditions here. It said, be willing to communicate. I'm talking about the Christian now. I'm going to go in a few minutes to the lost person. Right now, I'm talking about the Christian man. Be willing to communicate or have fellowship with all men. And it says here, even the poor. In verse 19 of this scripture, it says, even the poor man, that you will go out and talk. And I have always ended up working in the poor districts, it seems like. And I had to face to face one day meet a lady that said to me, she said, Miss Hutchins, I was painting for her, and she said, you talk to my maid, and you talk to my butler, you talk to the man in the yard, you've talked to everybody on this job about Jesus Christ, but you have not spoken to me about him. And I'm offended about that. And I said, forgive me, lady, forgive me. I will from now on make a purpose to speak to everybody, the rich and the poor. It's always been easy for me to talk to the poor, but it's not been easy for me to talk to the rich. So now what I do, I go to a job, a very, very wealthy lady. One of the first things I do is speak to her about Jesus. A lawyer, a judge, anybody in higher end, I speak to them right off the bat. Get that behind me so the devil doesn't get a foothold in my life and say, well, he might not use you. You talk to him. Now, I'm going to state my case before I get started. The last thing here, lay up treasures in heaven, not on the earth where moth and rust does corrupt, but lay up treasures in heaven. Lay hold on eternal life. Lay hold on eternal life. And that is the things that we need to do. We need to lay hold on eternal life. How do you do that? You say, Lord, I am a sinner. Forgive me of my sin. Come into my heart. Save my soul. So simple, a 5-year-old can do it. That's exactly what I had to do at the age of 30. Say, Lord, I am a sinner. Forgive me of my sin. Come in my heart and save my soul. Now we're going to get into our lesson. Our lesson for today is going to be some facts of the affairs of life. And some facts about the affairs of life. Backsliding. United States of America. Every single person in the United States of America was born with the right to use God's Word. We were founded on this Word, God's Word. Therefore, if you are in the United States of America and you are not using a Bible, you're an American citizen, you're not using the Bible, then you are backslidden from what our original fathers designed for us. You are already backslidden. You were backslidden before you got started even. And first thing is salvation before the Bible. But the Bible principles were things that even a lost man, gunslinger, would carry. Bible principles. Yeah, if you pulled a gun against him, he would shoot you. Other than that, he was a gentleman. He was a gentleman. He was a nice guy. He wasn't one to rob banks and did things. But if you were going to draw a gun on him, he was going to shoot you and prove that he was what he could do, what he said he could do. And so therefore, it was not exactly a nasty person or ugly person who shot people because they were a gunslinger. And sheriffs had to be gunslingers. And they could be God's people and still be a gunslinger. Because there is a man that is another type of gunslinger, one that comes along, who has no morals, and he'd shoot anything and anybody. And so you have to be, today, look at it this way. The affairs of life and the backsliding and unbelief. We have 8 generations. Today we have the last 3 or 4 generations have been unbelieving generations in the Word of God. Several things have brought that on. Some of the things that have brought it on is the anarchy of man's mind. That man's mind today has gone crazy with talking about and putting in books and teaching evolution. There is no way, let me tell you right now, there is no proof, no way, not possible that a man evolved from a monkey. It is absolutely, positively impossible. Evolution is absolutely, positively impossible. You will never, ever see evolution be a fact. And by the way, just a little for instance, that you and I can see, if it was a fact, it would still be happening. If it was a fact, it would still be happening. What stopped it if it was happening? Why aren't the monkeys today turning into men? I mean, logically thinking, ask yourself some of these questions. I am very sorry for the group of people that may listen to Brother Peter and have been taught in school and been brainwashed, and they've got a big section in their brain. It's a big bubble that needs to have a pin stuck in it, be bursted and pulled out of there and thrown away, and let good brain fill that area back up and get away from all of the nonsensical thinking of evolution. Evolution is so nonsensical. It is nonsense. It is absolutely nonsense. It has not one leg to stand on. The very man that wrote the book and everything, before he died, had a statement to make. I've been in error. He said he had been in error. He himself came to the decision, after writing all of the trash he wrote, that he was in error. Anybody can write falsely. Anybody can write fantasy. And everything he wrote was pure fantasy. It was him looking at this crazy animal on the Galapagos Island and saying this was one of their ancestors. And anybody can make up a foolish, fictitious story if they want to. I can look out here at one of my pickets, out here, my little pickets, and I can look at my big post, and I can say things about them. I can say one time that was a rock, and it turned into a piece of wood, and I could make a big old story out of it. But look, it wouldn't make it true. Look, false doctrines that destroy faith. This is what we have today. False doctrines in the United States of America that destroy the faith of the Bible, that say that we don't need the Bible. Profane and vain babblings. Profane and vain babblings today. That's what all of this junk is about, man coming from monkey and everything. That's all profane and vain babbling. And it's useless, and it's ungodliness. And it's ungodliness. It's false teachers. We have false teachers today taking God's word, teaching it falsely, teaching it wrong. Teaching the Word of God wrong because they don't have the Holy Spirit in them, and the Holy Spirit's the one that gives the ability to teach there. And one of the 7th thing of iniquity and dishonor. Iniquity. What is iniquity? Iniquity is to know something's wrong and continue to do it. To know something is, I don't know how many people I've heard say to me, I know it's wrong, bad for your body and everything to smoke, but I'm going to keep on doing it until I die. That's iniquity. That is knowing something's wrong and continue to do it. That is iniquity. And God says iniquity, people that live in iniquity, in that area of their life, they can be given up. They can be given up. God will give you the power even to get rid of that, and you will die. I had a brother die. Went through a segment of doctors, and just about every doctor he went through, 2 or 3 doctors said to him, I can't do anything for you because you won't quit smoking. The last doctor he had said, when are you going to quit smoking? He said, when I'm 10 toes up. And that's exactly what he did. He smoked until he was 10 toes up. And he smoked himself straight to death, right to the physical body. Couldn't stand it. Could not stand all day long, one behind the other. 2 in the ashtray still burning and lighting another one. It couldn't stand it. The physical body can only stand just so much. You abuse it, you're going to kill it. And you can kill your own body. And we're going to go now from this place of degradation to purging our own bodies. In Timothy, the book of Timothy, we're going to read some things that Paul tells Timothy. He tells him to flee from lust. He tells him to follow righteousness. He tells him to avoid foolish and vain things. He said not to strive with men. Don't strive with men about things. Just leave it alone. Just put out the truth and walk away. Be gentle to all men. Be gentle. If a man is not gentle to you, that doesn't mean you do not be gentle to him. You be gentle to all men. Be apt to teach. Timothy said, be apt to teach. Teach what you know every opportunity you get to everybody you meet. You teach what you know. And then you will be able to. He said, be patient. We're in a world of impatient us's. I have to put myself in that category because I'm an impatient us. I push the microwave for 100 seconds for my cup of coffee. When 60 seconds goes by, I open the door and get the coffee out instead of waiting the whole 100 seconds. That's impatience. We have to be careful. We don't be impatient. And then he said, instruct rebels. To instruct rebels. And now I'm talking, I got back into the good part of the Bible, and I'm going to go back into the bad part. Okay. He said, don't entangle yourself with the affairs of this life. That is considered backsliding. That's considered unbelief. That's considered false doctrine. Let's look at verse 13 here in 2 Timothy. If we believe not, yet he abideth faithful. He cannot deny himself. If we believe not, we can fall away and not believe, and he's still faithful. All we got to do is say, I'm sorry, Lord. Forgive me, God. I went the opposite direction, and go back to where we need to be. We need to flee youthful lust, he said, but follow righteousness, faith, charity, peace with them that call on the Lord out of a pure heart. Out of a pure heart. We need to get into that. And what in the last times we're going to have these people that are profane, that are scoffers, they are babblers, they lead to ungodliness, they are false teachers, and they are not vessels of honor, but vessels of dishonor. And that's what we're going to have in the last days. Now, you say, is it possible, Brother Peter, to be saved and to be a look like those in the last days? Yes, it is. You need to clean up, purge your own life, get yourself right in the Lord, and do right, and follow God. And if you will, you won't be listed with those that are profane babblers in the last days. And that's what we have to be careful that we're not. There are wicked men in this earth And I'm going to go into another segment, and I'm going to change the title on this particular one to How the Righteous Should Be. And then I'm going to go to a 30-minute one of how the unrighteous are. All right, this is Brother Peter. We'll see you next time. Tidbits from the Word. Bye-bye.